Welcome from me, John Denton, to another episode in the Business Ready for Sale series. As you know, I'm a big believer that a business that's ready for sale is well worth keeping, because all the things that you do to get your business ready for sale will help your business to grow and hopefully run profitably without you, the business owner, having to be there. So on some of these podcast episodes, it's not so much about having the business saleable, it's about growing the business and making it more profitable. When I'm not running podcasts, I'm working with business owners in my Business Owners Taking Action mentoring group. And I find them speakers and experts when they need help on a particular topic. And some of the members have been spending a lot of money and getting very frustrated with SEO services, SEO agencies, Google Ads agencies, and so on. It seems that SEO is a bit of a black art. You pay these people a lot of money, but you don't always know what you get back, and it's not always very successful. So I went on a mission to find someone who was credible and an expert in the SEO AdWords area. And I was referred to Marc Moeller. I was so impressed with Marc after I met him that we decided to do a webinar and then turn that webinar audio into a podcast, and that's what you're going to hear shortly. And because it has come off a webinar, then obviously you won't be able to see the slides, and Marc does go into quite a bit of detail, but he does describe it so that you can follow along with it. I highly recommend you get a pen and a piece of paper and make notes, or whatever you make notes on these days, because as I say, there is a lot of information. And Marc also gives us some tools that we can use, and there are links to get those tools in the show notes to this podcast. So let's get into the webinar recording with Marc Moeller. Good day, Marc.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, John.
And so Marc's going to be doing all the work. I'm going to be hosting the webinar, but Marc's going to be doing all the work. A little bit about me and how I came to have Marc on this webinar. My business is called Business Owners Taking Action, and this is a business owners mentoring group. So it's a group of business owners who come together once a month to help each other work on their businesses, share ideas, test things out, be very honest with each other, and keep each other accountable for taking action, because nothing happens until there's action. And I've been running these groups now for about 14 years. And recently in the group, a couple of the members have been working on their SEO and Google AdWords and sharing their highs and lows of that with the group. And they asked me, could I find somebody that could talk to us about these things, and particularly Google Analytics, things like that. And SEO, there's a lot of cynicism around about SEO. Some of the members have been paying out a lot of money, but not necessarily seeing a lot of return. And Marc was recommended to me. So Marc's business is called ecomexperts, and I'll let Marc introduce himself. We may as well do that right now. Marc, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'll get these slides on the screen.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, thanks for having me, John. I'll start with my presentation here. My name is Marc Moeller, and my company is called ecomexperts, where I help mainly e-commerce businesses and some local businesses with their SEO and Google Ads. And our topic today is stop wasting money on SEO and Google Ads. And that's advice from somebody who is in SEO and who runs Google Ads. And on the next slide, we'll talk a bit about why that is. So the stuff that I come across on a daily basis, unfortunately, of what other agencies are doing is really, really scary. And every year I'm hoping that the industry will improve and that other agencies are going to do a better job. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So that's why you're here today, because I think the only way how we can fix the digital marketing space is by business owners being more savvy and learning how to spot dodgy agencies, learning how to think about digital marketing in the right way, and learning how to hire marketing agencies, essentially, because my feeling is the bad agencies are not going to change. They're always going to have very smart salespeople that try to sell you on the highest plan and under-deliver massively. And in some cases, business owners realize 3 years later. So this is a real-world example here from a client that I've now onboarded. But this client has been with an agency for 3 years, and they wanted to actually advertise in a 5-kilometer radius around their business. Yet what this agency has done is to advertise in a 20-kilometer radius. So that was a massive waste of money that has gone on for 3 years until finally someone, myself, had a look at that account. And I estimate that they've wasted roughly $150,000, completely burned out of the window, gone, nothing in return for that. And that's just one case out of many that I've seen myself. And I'm just one guy out of probably thousands of cases that are going on daily like that. So there's a huge amount of money being burned in Australia and worldwide by marketing campaigns that are absolutely having no return whatsoever. And it's a huge waste, unfortunately. And with that being said, hopefully now you're a bit more interested in what I do. I've got nothing to tell you, even though I run my own SEO agency, but this is more of a community announcement where I'm trying to help you as a business owner make the right decisions for your business, to get an idea of whether digital marketing is right for you and how to think about it. And later on, we'll also have some time for questions and answers. Maybe we can talk about some specific cases. There are certain businesses where I would say they might not be ready for SEO at all. And we talk about that in a second as well. Little bit about my background. I started SEO in 2015, so it's been 7 years now. My agency, ecomexperts.au, is on track to hit 7 figures by 2023. And I've worked with some of the largest Australian brands that spend $1 million per month on Google Ads. So obviously Google loves those clients that spend $1 million with them per month. My SEO clients on average see growth of $50,000 to $300,000 per month. That's very measurable in e-commerce, obviously, because we can have tracking there to see what their sales were before, what they were after. And even with some of my clients that are in the dental industry, for example, we can also track that in terms of how many phone calls they get before they work with me, and then how many phone calls and leads they get after. And that's part of what I will be talking about to you as well, that you absolutely need to measure that. And even before you hire an agency, we'll chat about, you need to know exactly what figures you need to hit for you to make the digital marketing worth it, as opposed to just having an agency salesperson put you on a plan, but you don't even know if it's going to have a return on investment for you. So we'll chat about that. In my agency, the retainers are starting from $3,500 per month. That's because I'm a small agency. I work with every client one-on-one. So I'm not looking to build a team of 200 people, because some of the largest agencies, unfortunately, also tend to be the ones that have the highest rate of burning clients really badly, just because digital marketing changes on a daily basis, and trying to retrain a team of 200 people, updating the standard operating procedures, it must be an absolute nightmare. That's why I don't want to run an agency with 200 people. I want to stay small and deliver good results. But again, this is just a background about me. And I have a science-based approach to search engine optimization, understanding the Google algorithm deeply, because the one thing Google doesn't tell you is that they don't actually want you to rank in Google search results for free. They want you to pay in Google Ads. And that's why each year they roll out updates that actually demote businesses around the time of November, December, when the main shopping season hits. We see that every time. There's been a recent update again. Each year they demote businesses, and instead they put directory listings at the front, because directories don't pay in Google Ads anyways, and now the businesses are forced to pay. But let's jump into a client story here. So this is basically the wrong way how to hire an agency and how it's gone really wrong. So this is a client that I've recently jumped on a call with. They told an agency, that they earn roughly $900,000 per month in revenue from their offline store, and they have 40 staff in their offline store. This is a business clothing store, so work clothing essentially, over in Queensland. And the agency person said, all right, these guys obviously have money, let's charge them $15,000 per month. Turned out in the end, the agency, for $15,000 per month, they did very little, to the point that the most basic things have not been implemented. And now the case is going to court because the client signed a 24-month contract for $15,000 per month, and they saw zero growth. Very understandable that they're very keen to get out of that contract. And that's essentially exactly how you don't want to hire an agency. And this was also one of the agencies that do have 200 staff here in Australia. And that seems to be a trend. So for this one, the takeaway is that we do need to be a lot clearer about how many leads and inquiries we need. If you're an e-commerce store, essentially you can figure out what your average order value is and how many sales you need to get in order to be profitable on that. And then we're going to talk about how to get a detailed plan out of an agency to reach these goals. So we do need to be a lot more proactive on that. So for example, let's say you are a dishwasher repair company and you're right now getting 5 leads per month, and you need to be at 15. That would be a better way to start communicating and chat to an agency. And we'll talk about the top 5 mistakes here now. So the top 5 mistakes that I see when people are hiring an SEO agency are that they're firstly not clear on their goals. The most important ones would be how many leads or sales do you actually need to get out to be able to say that you're growing your business significantly. They're not clear on the return on investment. We'll go over a free calculator that we use together to chat about that. They're not clear about the credentials of the SEO team. Again, that's an important one to actually find out while you're hopping on a sales call with any digital marketing agency to figure out, is the person that I'm talking to right now a salesperson, or is this somebody who's actually going to be running my campaign? If you're working with a small agency, usually you work with an agency owner. In my experience, that's a very good sign if you can find an agency that you trust that's smaller, because then you'll actually know who's going to be working on your campaign, as opposed to talking to a salesperson. Then your account is going to be handed over to an account manager, and you don't know if it's going to be the junior SEO that will be handling your campaign. And I've interviewed for junior SEO jobs myself years ago, and you don't want any of these people working on your campaigns, because back then when I interviewed for those jobs, that was 7 years ago, I had no idea what I was doing. So yeah. So choosing an agency that's not too large is probably a good choice. There may be some big agencies. I'm not trying to do any big agency bashing here, but just in terms of how hard it is to run operations efficiently with 200 people, any of you that run a business, you can imagine that even in your business, things change on a daily basis. So imagine having 200 staff and organizing them to deliver marketing campaigns efficiently, very difficult. And then not getting specific commitment from what it is exactly they will do on a monthly basis. That would be important, essentially, that you find out, okay, we have this goal of going from 5 leads per month to 15 leads per month. What are the steps in between that we need to do to get us there? And when they can show you something that makes sense, and absolutely try to get that plan from 2 or 3 agencies, and then see what they recommend. And now you have a specific goal in mind and a specific plan to reach these goals, which is a much better starting point. Okay, I wanted to run you through a specific example. This one is very easy, Matt. We've got a home builder here. And this home builder wants to build 3 more houses this year. And each house he charges 500,000 Australian dollars for. So he's looking to add 1.5 million in revenue per year. And let's say he's got a 10% profit margin. So he's looking to add $150,000 in profit. Now, from this goal, that this is what you should also figure out for your business, what you want to achieve. And from this goal, we can now work back to digital marketing. So in order to sign 3 contracts, he needs to now figure out how many people does he need to speak to in order to sign 3 contracts. So again, we're looking at here, let's say 10% of the people that he speaks to are going to go ahead. So he needs to speak to 30 people in order to sign these 3 contracts. And we'll assume that for simplicity that we'll need around 30 leads in order to get 3 contracts done. All right, perfect. So now we have the basics in place. Over the period of 1 year, we just need 3 people coming to our website and leaving an inquiry. And because we're very proactive, they've left an inquiry, we call them immediately, we get them to come in, let's say, into our showroom. That's very important because I've seen often that people are getting traffic, but they never call back their leads. So you do have to be proactive about that. Ideally, within 5 minutes of getting an inquiry, if the person leaves the phone number, they do want to be called back. And this is an important part of digital marketing, to do your part and follow up with leads as soon as possible. And another interesting thing, because all of you guys will have different sales cycles. So some of you have very short sales cycles. For example, if you're an emergency plumber, locksmith, pest control, emergency dentist, people obviously don't wait 6 months to call an emergency dentist. You've got pain right now. You want help tonight. So you're picking up the phone immediately. You don't even want to go to a website. As long as you know there's a dentist open, if you're in pain, you will pick up the phone. And that usually happens via Google Maps. So that's a good one to figure out for your business, where you are in sort of the sales cycle range. If it's a very short sales cycle, phone calls via Google Maps are going to be huge. I've worked with some vet clinics. They get 700 phone calls per month just from Google Maps. So to these people, I could say, put your website in the bin. You don't need a website. When you're getting 700 phone calls from Google Maps, you're doing very well. And that's something that your digital marketing agency should understand. And they should be on the same page, and they should ideally have credentials if you have a short sales cycle where they've ranked other clients in Google Maps. So you can say, right, what's a difficult client that's right now showing in Google Maps for a tricky keyword? Something like emergency dentist Perth, for example, would be a pretty difficult keyword to rank for. And on the other hand, if you are a home builder or you have a long sales cycle, then contact form fills are going to be the main thing that you are after. And your website should be optimized for that in mind. People are most likely not picking up the phone to hire a home builder or for any big investments, even if it's in health, medical, anything else. That's a big investment. There will be a longer sales cycle, and contact form fills are most likely going to be your best bet. Ebooks work very well. If you can create an ebook that's interesting, people download that, in exchange give you their email address, and now you can remarket to them. And being clear on that before you hire an agency is also very helpful, because then you know kind of if they understand your business, which is very important in digital marketing. And that's probably what I would say where most of the agencies fail. They don't understand your business, your sales cycle, your goals, the target area that we've talked about. If this goes wrong from the beginning, then there's even the best SEO person sort of can't help it if the business goals are not aligned or understood correctly in the beginning. So there needs to be some business savviness on your part to communicate that clearly, what you think is important, but also on the part of the SEO agency. That's why all of this outsourcing stuff to the Philippines doesn't work, because how can we expect somebody in the Philippines to understand that home builder short sales cycle can probably go 70 kilometers around Perth? You know, they just don't get it in that way. And that's why a lot of the stuff fails. And that's why it's a lot better if you know this person that I'm speaking to is located in Perth. He understands the local area, and he's actually going to be the one doing my SEO, as opposed to an unknown person somewhere in Sydney, perhaps, or maybe someone in the Philippines. Jumping over to the return on investment, that's your main goal as a business owner. That's why we're doing all of this. We don't really want clicks. We don't want likes. We all want sales, right? So you know that we're getting a good return on investment. So you should be able to click, either scan this QR code here, or type this link in. I will also share the slides with you later, so you get this link as well. And that should lead you to the return on investment calculator. That should look something like that. And the main field that you're interested in here is, so any of the orange fields can be filled. So the main thing we're interested in here is for our home builder, this field. So we would fill in here if we want 3 leads per month. This is on a per month basis. We put in 3, and then all of the rest of the data will calculate again. In our home builder's case, we had said that he needs 3 solid leads per month so that he hits his 30 leads per year, just kind of rounding rough numbers here. So the conversion rate simply means how many of the visitors that come to your website actually turn into those contact form fills. Profit margin is clear. Average sale value, if you're e-commerce, you can also look that up in Google Analytics or inside of your e-commerce platform like Shopify. It should tell you what the average sale is, but for this home builder, it was 500,000. Now for the organic clicks that you're getting, and for anybody who's listening on the podcast, we're looking at the calculator here, where there's also a Google Ads version of that. But today we only go over the SEO return on investment. So our tool has told us we need 100 visitors per month. These need to be coming from qualified keywords. So if we're in Perth, people who have typed in home builder Perth, if we get 100 of these people at a 3% conversion rate, we would get 3 solid leads per month. And then out of these leads, we assume that we're converting only 10% later on. So in total per year, we would be getting the revenue that we were looking for of 1.5 million minus an SEO agency retainer per year. That would, as an example, would run 42,000. So we've got our profit before the retainer would be 10% of the 1.5 million in revenue is 150,000 minus the SEO agency fees. We're looking at still over 100,000 profit. And now we can calculate the return on the SEO, which would be a 3.7 return. So for every dollar that you put into the SEO, you get $3.5 back essentially. And that's how simple you can run essentially these calculations. The only thing to remember is that SEO does take a little bit of time. So the first few months, you might be getting a small amount of leads, but then later on, hopefully you're going to get more than that, and it will average out to roughly that number. The one thing I will say, if you are not clear on these numbers, then SEO kind of becomes an expense to you. You're not seeing it as an investment. You're going like, how can I spend as little as possible on it? Because you're thinking it might not work, it might be an expense. And that's another thing, unfortunately, that sets up some business owners for failure, because SEO is quite expensive to run. I've been doing this for 7 years, and to run SEO properly is very, very expensive. And when you're saying, I want to rank for a competitive keyword like home builder Perth, which obviously one sale can get you $1.2 million in some cases, then you're setting yourself up for failure, because for $1,000, you definitely cannot rank for home builder Perth. You cannot rank for keywords like bar stools and so on. The really difficult keywords, they also need really, really big budgets. And that's why it's so important to do these calculations first to understand how much of a return you could be getting. I'll just run through one more example. Let's say we have a lawn mowing company that's only getting $50 per sale. So the total revenue per month, if we were only to get 100 visitors, would be $150 essentially. So obviously in those kind of examples where you have a very low average sale value, I've talked to a sweet shop before, again, $30 per sale, it's very hard to make a profit. You need really, really high volumes in order to make that work. And usually these kind of businesses struggle with paying for SEO. And that's why it's important for you to kind of figure out in what range am I, what could be the potential return on investment. And then if you are comfortable with an agency and you think they can do the work, then ideally let them suggest what a good budget would be that can get you good results, maybe even 2 budgets, one aggressive budget, and then one kind of middle of the road budget. If you're going with lower budget, it's going to take longer because the agency is going to work less hours on your marketing campaign. And also things such as link building, that's where we pay other people who own a website to put our link on there. That's still very important. And to get high quality websites, I could be paying up to $200 to get a good link for you. So if I'm paying that much, then obviously if we only have, let's say, $1,000 budget, that's only, just from paying for one link, there's only $700 left. And then for other SEO tools and so on, I have a bill of $15,000 just for SEO tools each month. It's hard to actually do a proper marketing campaign if your budget is really small, is what I'm saying. And in those cases, it's better to save your money for a time when you are able to invest properly into SEO. That would be my suggestion. So if you have a really low average save value, it might be a case of getting a one-time SEO tune-up to say, okay, what can we do with $1,500 one time? Not expecting that it will blow all the competitors out of the water, but just to make sure that your website is set up properly, as opposed to thinking you need to spend $700 each month if you have such a low average save value. Okay, for the sheet, you can take a copy of the sheet by scanning this, and then you need to be logged into a Gmail account, and in the top left, you would click File and then make a copy, and then it will become your own copy, and you can edit it yourself and use it for your own purposes going forward. So one slide here about exposing Google. Before we go into that, I wanted to actually do a quick poll to see how many of you have tried SEO before. Are we able to start that poll, John?
Yep. So have you used, or are you using paid SEO services? If you can vote now. So you can see the poll in the chat area there. Fantastic. So far we've got 66% saying no and 33%. So 2/3 and 1/3. So 1/3 yes, 2/3 no, Mark.
Okay, yep. Interesting. Yep. So a lot of people have not actually tried SEO yet.
Do you want me to poll them to see if it was successful?
Yeah, that would be very interesting. Of those who have used it, would you judge it as successful, or was it a failure?
Okay, so second poll coming up. So you should be able to see the second poll now. If you have used paid SEO services, was it successful? Yes, no, or don't know. So we're getting 50-50 at the moment.
50-50 gives me hope. At least there's half of the people who try SEO have had a good experience.
Interestingly, on the successful front, half the people said don't know, which is an interesting one.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Maybe the next section helps. So we talk a little bit about Google Analytics and how you can to set up tracking, how many phone calls you're getting each month, how many contact form submissions. That would hopefully help those people to quantify if it was successful or not. Perfect. I'll continue here with something quite interesting. Actually, one thing that I forgot about that to show you how bad it can get when SEO agencies do the SEO. I'll make this a bit bigger here. So you can see here, this was a real estate agent who hired an SEO agency, and they've paid in total $6,000 per month for Google Ads and SEO. And what this agency had done is they put lorem ipsum text on the website. Instead of posting actual articles, they just put an image up and a title, and then in the bottom here it's lorem ipsum. It's not actually English, just placeholder text. I don't know if any of you guys speak lorem ipsum, but I don't, so it's definitely Google also doesn't speak it. So that website had no traffic at all, and for $6,000 a month, I think that's a bit expensive to have lorem ipsum posted on your website. So even simple things like just going to your blog and saying, hang on, what are they actually doing on my blog? Everybody can do that. You would just go to your domain.com and type in /blog. Most websites are WordPress websites, and that's how they're set up. And that's when you can find wonderful things like lorem ipsum if you hire a bad SEO agency. On that same lorem ipsum topic, there has been, in SEO circles, he's quite famous. His name is Kyle Roof, and he runs an agency called High Voltage SEO. He has actually exposed Google and embarrassed them quite a bit by ranking a website for a medical keyword called rhinoplasty in Garden Grove, so no surgery in a suburb or city called Garden Grove in the US. And he has also used lorem ipsum, but he's done it in a smart way, just as a test, where he's put in the certain keywords that Google expects. When you talk about plastic surgery, Google expects you to talk about recovery time, qualifications of the doctor. So he's put all these keywords, but in the middle, he's just put lorem ipsum text. And it could have been just complete gibberish, proving that Google is not actually reading. They just extract certain words that they know, and then they make sense of that text by extracting these words and not actually reading the content. And that's how you can rank with complete gibberish for a medical term, which should obviously not be happening. But it sort of leads to the point that Google is smart, but not that smart. They're infinitely smart because they've got the smartest people, the biggest resources, and so on, but also very dumb at the same time, because using all that AI technology, machine learning, and so on, costs millions, if not billions of dollars, because they have trillions of web pages to process. So that's why a lot of their technology is scaled down so that it actually works for a lot of web pages. And probably the number one engineering truth is that everything breaks at scale. You can have the most fancy advanced software, but when you're trying to process 3 trillion pages on a regular basis as well, it's not like they just need to analyze the document once. Once you make an update to your website, they need to come back and see that update. Processing trillions of documents daily, which are essentially web pages, costs a ton of money, and there are significant restrictions and also times when Google is actually breaking. As an SEO, I see that myself. So just for you to be aware that Google is always kind of trying to make it out like they've got it all figured out, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. They actually haven't, and I've even heard about cases where Google has messed up, and then the SEO people have been fired because the business owner thought, why are my pages not showing in Google? But it's actually that Google has what we call indexing issues, where they have so many documents to process, they might at times not be able to ingest new pages or new documents. So therefore, somebody could have posted a good article on your website, but Google was just not able to include that in search results. And now it looks like your SEO person has done nothing, but it was actually Google who has messed up. So that's just one thing to be aware of, because we always think that these billion-dollar companies have it all figured out, but sometimes they are struggling as well. One thing that's really important right now is Google Analytics. So you've probably maybe heard that the old analytics, which is called Universal Analytics, that one is not being used anymore. By June 2023, that's not going to be supported anymore. But that's not even the main issue. The main problem is that you cannot import from your old analytics into the new Google Analytics 4. That means by June 2023, all of that data is completely useless in your old analytics. And if you don't set up Google Analytics 4 today, then you have essentially no data at all, because the old data is not useful and you also haven't started collecting data. So if you have not set up Google Analytics 4 yet, that would be an important one to get onto today, ideally. I would recommend, if you have obviously a marketing agency, just ask them if they've set that up already. If not, I would recommend to just go to Fiverr or Upwork and find somebody who can set it up for you. It's a very simple setup. There's not much that can go wrong there. If you wanted to check if somebody has actually done it, you can go to Chrome and install a plugin called Google Tag Assistant, and then you click Enable, and that will show you the analytics tags that are on your website. So I'll put that in here. That's a free Chrome extension that you can install to see if that guy from Fiverr has done it correctly, but I'm 99% sure that anybody who offers that service can do it, because it's very simple and quick to do, and it shouldn't cost more than $10 to $20 to set up. And then you can collect data today into the new Google Analytics 4, which you can use going forward. And because it's all going to be phased out, I have included these screenshots from the new Google Analytics 4. So this is not the old analytics, this is the new ones. And some important things that I think every business owner should know is about what reports to look at in your analytics. You should have access to that. You just go to analytics.google.com and something like this should come up. And the most important report there is the traffic acquisition. This tells you actually where your users are coming from. So for the organic search, that means essentially people have come from free Google search results. In this case, we're looking at 28 days on an e-commerce website. So 1,200 people have come from Google's free search results. Cross-network traffic, this could be attributed to multiple sources. So this is the new thing that Google Analytics 4 does. They're kind of acknowledging, right, it's not just Facebook who sent the traffic or just Google Ads. There are multiple touch points in the user journey. So somebody could have first typed in cheap dentist near me on Google. They've clicked on an ad, and then they opened the website up, and then they've closed it, and then they've gone on Facebook a few days later, and then they've come back. So that's what this cross-network is reporting, that there were multiple touch points involved. Direct traffic is where somebody has typed in your domain name directly. So if you're jimsplumbing.com.au, they've typed that directly into your browser, or in some cases where Google couldn't attribute it. And paid search, 200 here. So for this business, I would say that the organic search is the most important because they're getting 1,200 visitors from that. And paid search is not a huge traffic for them because it's only 200 visitors. So that's an important one to be aware of, to also know who you should be hiring, right? Where your traffic is coming from. If your organic is very strong, you should probably have an SEO agency looking after your search. And if your paid is very strong, you need a Google Ads guy to look after that. If you're an e-commerce business, you can go to the e-commerce purchase report, and it should look something like that, where you can see exactly how many times a specific product has been viewed. That's important because then you know what's trending and what needs a boost. Let's say you introduce a new product, but it's not getting any views even. Then you need to talk to your either Google Ads guy or SEO guy to say, hey, can we give this one a boost in any way possible? And you can also see how many times it's been added to the basket and what's not in the screenshot here, also if it has been checked out or not. And that's what we call the e-commerce layer that you can use for e-commerce stores as well in Google Analytics, which is very helpful. And then later on, you can slice the data as well. It's a bit advanced for this webinar, but you can slice the data to say how many sales have I made from people who came from Google Ads, or how many sales have I made from people who came from Facebook. And that works both for e-commerce and for contact form fills. Let's say if you are a local plumber, which is also helpful. So you can ask your agency to report on both separately, how many phone calls I got from ads and how many from SEO. Now, the most important part here actually is to make sure that your conversion events are set up correctly. So you want to go to the admin panel and just have a look in there. If this is empty, if you're not seeing anything like that under admin and then conversions, then something is wrong. So it's pretty quick to check. Again, going to admin and conversions. And if that's completely empty, you don't see anything going on there, nothing in the count area being recorded, then it either hasn't been set up yet, or that's probably it. So it probably never been set up in most cases. And if you're getting a Google Analytics guy already from Fiverr or your own agency to do it, that's a good one to ask them to say, hey, can you set up events that actually track the conversions if somebody has clicked on an email, clicked on a phone number, or if you're an e-commerce store purchased or visited the thank you page, so that we can track that. And this data can then be pulled into a dashboard very easily, so that you can open just that dashboard. At that point, you don't even need to come into Google Analytics anymore. You can just open that dashboard and see, okay, this month I got 168 purchases, $120,000 in sales. And that's a very good way to keep your marketing agency accountable, and also for you to know that you're getting a good return on your investment. Perfect. Lastly, I've got my contact details here. As mentioned previously, currently I'm not taking on any clients, but I do have a wait list. And I'm also very honest about when it makes sense to do SEO. In a lot of cases, either because the retainer is sort of too high, or because I think that business has a too low average order value, so that any SEO at any retainer essentially is not going to work. In a lot of cases, I'm just leaving people with some good advice and saying that probably SEO is not the right thing to do in that situation. Or I might be able to recommend you to somebody who is sort of a bit newer in the industry and helps clients with smaller businesses.
Steve Wilkinson said, is there a contract if signing up with you?
No, I don't do contracts. My clients stay with me because I do really good work and I report on the return on investment. And that's essentially why the clients are staying. I'm not a fan of the contracts and I don't see why they should be necessary. So yeah, no contracts.
And Rob Bluntish said, what was the URL for Google Analytics? The basic.
Yeah, yep. I'll put that up on the screen here right now. That's analytics.google.com. I think I can put that in the chat here as well. So you can set up a free Google Analytics account yourself, and then you would add, if you're hiring somebody on Fiverr, you would add him to his account by going to admin, and then there's a section where there's user management. It's pretty easy to do, and otherwise I'm sure anybody who's providing that as a service can also guide you in order to add them.
Stuart's asked, is there any particular SEO training and tools you recommend for in-house SEO?
The only good one that comes to mind is Ryan Gotch SEO Academy. He's been in the space for a long time. Yeah, gotchseo.com. That's an SEO training that has had good reviews, and he invests a lot into making the training better. It depends on what kind of in-house SEO. If you're a software company, you'd probably want to take a different training versus an e-commerce company versus a local plumbing business. That goes back sort of to your sales cycle. If you're local plumbing, you really need to optimize your Google Maps listing. There are different trainings for that versus an e-commerce store, for example.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess it's depends if you're a global business or a local business, doesn't it? Just to
Right.
set your SEO up.
Definitely. There's even trainings for for international SEO for websites that have multiple different languages, because Google sees every single language as a different page. So international SEO is probably the trickiest kind of SEO to do, but I don't expect many people here would. Yeah, blog writing is included in the monthly fee, and it's a really important part because we could see the quality of the blog writing is very important. If it's done poorly, then you won't get any traffic from Google, and you also won't get any rankings for that. Google has something called site-wide quality signals. So the whole kind of rankings of your website can drop. If Google sees 10 low-quality articles, it's going to deem your whole website as being low quality, and even product pages could rank worse if your blog articles are not set up correctly.
Philip asked, if I have just signed up with an SEO, how long should it take to see results? That's a good question as well.
Yeah, the more competitive the industry is, the longer it will take to see results. To give you an example of very competitive industries, furniture, dentistry, anything that's really high ticket and that everybody needs, plumbing, all of those take really long. So I would say if you have never done SEO and you're a plumber, it should take 2 years. I know that's a bit of a tough one, but it really is true if you have not done nothing, because there are some plumbing companies that have invested for the last 7 years. So we can't expect to overtake them within 6 months when they've invested for 7 years. So those are the very hard ones. If you are in a low competition industry, even within 3 to 6 months. So I've had some clients here in Perth locally in e-commerce. They used to be on $30,000 to $50,000 revenue, and then after 2 to 3 months, they hit their biggest $130,000 in revenue. So in some cases, it can take just 3 to 4 months, but yeah, it's super hard to tell. That's why I think that's almost the wrong question to ask. Just doing the things that we've talked about, making sure your goals are set up in Google Analytics. You want to see essentially incremental progress each month. You want to see that there are more blog articles posted. You want to see that there are more goals in analytics being achieved, these being phone calls, contact forms, submissions, those kind of things. They should be going up slowly, as opposed to us thinking, oh, in 1 year's time, I will check if it's good or not. You should be constantly kind of on top of it and having a chat with your SEO to see if it's progressing slowly or not. And also look at the deliverables. So he should be writing some sort of blog articles in 99% of cases. So just with your own judgment, checking, are these articles good? If my customers would read them, Are they helpful? And then the second thing that's important is, could they actually convert from an article? So that's a science in itself. To write an article, to get somebody to buy something, that's important to ask yourself and to monitor on an ongoing basis.
Are there some business types that are more difficult to SEO than others? I think when you and I had a conversation, you were sort of said you prefer to work with e-commerce type businesses, not professional services type businesses. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I've got a lot of experience in e-commerce as well as traditional service type businesses. There's essentially, it always comes down to the competition. There are some e-commerce websites that are very easy to rank, and then some industries that are very hard. Like we're going up against some of the Harvey Normans, IKEAs, and such big businesses of the world. And obviously, in that space, it's very tough. Even though we have managed to outrank some of these big companies. But whenever you're going up against billion-dollar companies, that's where it gets very tough. For local SEO, just these other industries where it's an industry that everybody needs, like dentistry, plumbing, electrician, those are also incredibly difficult because there are some big plumbing companies who are investing 5,000 to 10,000 each month in SEO. And if they've been running it smart with a good agency, now they've got a really big advantage, to the point that if you're a one-person plumbing shop, I would recommend to you probably not do SEO, because it's just so hard to catch up, because you're going to be on a much smaller budget than that company who has 200 plumbers in Perth, and they're paying their SEO agency $10,000. In some cases, it's better to not do SEO, because it's tough unless you can find some specific industry or niche. One thing I will say that this might help some local businesses is Google has recently started an attack on location pages. That means I've worked with one electrician here in Perth, and he had set up his own website, and for every suburb in Perth, he had a different location page. So oven repairs Dianella, oven repairs Yoka. He had so many location pages, and Google doesn't like these anymore. And they have all been taken out of Google search results, to the point that you can't be found anymore for those pages. So if that was part of your SEO strategy, to have one page for every city in Australia or one page for every suburb, that does not work very well anymore. There's so the fix for that is to grab a separate domain name. If you want to be if you want to take over one big suburb, get an exact match domain name, which is plumber+joondalup.com.au, and then rank that website instead of trying to rank for 500 suburbs with your one website, because Google is just not having that anymore. And it could be a lot of time that goes down the drain trying to set up some kind of local suburb ranking strategy when it's just not going to work. It's now easier for the businesses who are actually existing in that suburb to rank, as opposed to a company that's in Sydney and trying to rank in Brisbane or Perth. Yeah.
And Jim, you've asked about a webinar on AdWords. Okay, I'll put it on the list. So a lot of these webinars come down to, I do one a month, which is a public one at the moment. And Marc's going to be presenting like this to my Business Owners Taking Action, BOTA group, this Friday. It'll be a more interactive and private session, because that's what we do in the BOTA group. So if anybody's interested in learning about my BOTA groups, there's a link pinned to the top of the chat area there, which will take you to my website, give you a bit more information. You can fill in an inquiry form, and I'll follow up with you on that. The BOTA group really come up with the topics and the things that are interesting that they're working on at the moment or having problems with, and then I go out and find somebody like Marc, Marc, I think you've done a fantastic job today.
Thanks, John.
And got through a lot of information. So I go out and find the Marcs of the world and bring them in to talk to the mentoring group. That's just part of the benefit of being part of the group. Any more questions? So Jim, I'll put that on the list. You'll just need to join the mentoring group, that's all. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming on live and asking your questions. I think we got through a lot of material. You've got, will we get slides? Was this webinar recorded? Rob, yes, it's automatically recorded. within less than an hour after we finish, you will get a link to the recording, so you can go through it again. And the upside of the recording is that you can watch it in full screen, so you can see things a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to wrap now. So once again, thanks very much, Marc.
Thanks, everybody, for your time. Pleasure to be here. See ya.
So I'm going to end now. Look out for the recording and look out for next month's webinar. What an excellent session that was from Marc. I hope you took lots of notes and got lots of takeaways. I certainly did. If you want to check out Marc's business and Marc's website, it's ecomexperts.au. That's ECOM experts plural.au. And Marc's email is marc, M-A-R-C, at ecomexperts.au. And remember, you can get access to the tools that Marc mentioned in a link in the show notes to this podcast. Just quickly, some takeaways that I got from it, which are good business takeaways anyway. Marc said, be clear on your goals. Know what you want to get in terms of traffic and conversions before you start paying for SEO and Google AdWords. And I talk about this all the time in business, know your numbers and monitor your return on investment. You shouldn't be doing any marketing without monitoring the return on your investment in that marketing. Track the numbers. Am I talking to the salesperson or the person who's going to be working on my campaign? So if you're engaging an agency, you want to be talking to the person who's going to be doing the work, not the salesperson. And don't work with agencies that are too large, was Marc's advice. For a similar reason too. You need to be talking to the person who's doing the work. And get specific details. If you do engage an agency, get specific details of what they're going to be doing month by month for the money. And that can be quite a challenge getting that information sometimes. So anyway, lots of great stuff. Go back and listen to the webinar a few more times. You'll hear different things every time. And thank you for listening. If you want to get more information from me, it's johndenton.com.au. You can do a business saleability checkup. You can check out my business owner mentoring groups and other services that I offer, including workshops on getting businesses ready for sale. So that's at johndenton.com.au. So from me, it's bye for now, and hopefully I'll be talking to you on another podcast soon.